Today, I am here to talk about something which I observed during the anti-paper leak protests that were going a few weeks back on Jantar Mantar in the capital city of India, that is Delhi. So, if you know about what this all anti-paper leak protests were, it's good. If you don't know about it, if you're not from India, maybe you can just Google it. But there are few points which I think were a very, very positive shift, which I observed among the common masses of India. Maybe this particular kind of positive shift is more among the upcoming youth and not much into the older generations. But this positive shift is something which is very, very promising for a country like India, where uh, being ideal or the concept of idealism was so glorified over centuries that people were not very ready to accept that something can be good and bad both at the same time. So the first positive shift which you asked me was the understanding that there is no absolute right or wrong. People knew that if they have elected a particular government with a belief that they will do good for them, they still hold that particular belief that the government they have chosen is far better than all the other uh, opposition parties. But again, they know that even if they have chosen the best party or the best among all the parties to form a government, they know even that particular best government can do few things which are wrong, or even if it's not wrong, maybe something which is very controversial or something which may cause a conflict of interest among the different communities, different groups, different kind of people who hold several beliefs. So people over here have the faith in the present government, but despite having that faith, people are not shying away from raising the voices against something which they see as wrong. That particular wrong can be different for other people, a particular kind of right can be different for other people, but if a particular section or a person thinks that something is wrong despite having the belief in government, he is raising the voice. Second positive development which I see is asking for the accountability. So people were asking, people were demanding. There were many people who were demanding the resignation of education minister. There are two factions where one faction says that yes, the resignation was right to hold a particular person or the party accountable, and there was a section of people who says that taking the resignation from education minister is not going to resolve the core of the problem. But still, by this means or that means, people are actually pointing out towards few people to take the accountability. So the resignation of Dharmendra Pradhan can be right or wrong, but that particular resignation is not just about that particular person. It is about pointing towards the system or pointing towards the government that you will have to answer. So if you see, like at least what I observed, that the government was making a lot of reforms or taking a lot of actions. The system was taking a lot of actions towards the paper leak scams, but the government never came out directly in public and answered the things on what they are doing in terms of preventing the future leaks or punishing the culprits in the future. But since the people are asking for accountability, the government cannot hide in the shadows and think that whatever wrong is going on, they are all super safe. They will get the questions from the people directly or indirectly, and those questions will continue until the government answers. The government will have to answer each and every question. That is why the press conferences are important from the side of government. It's okay if they are not holding any press conferences. I know they are doing, like the different ministers are doing that, but even if they are not doing any press conferences, it's all right for me or for the people, because by any means they will have to answer now. So this particular demand of accountability is something which is a very positive shift. Third, and my most favorite, is that people are now noticing the anti-social and anti-national elements among them. So if you see, this particular anti-paper league protest was having the sole agenda that we have to ask from the government the resignation of education minister and what they are going to do to prevent the paper leaks and how they are going to punish the paper leak culprits. So this was the sole uh, agenda for the protests. But then we also saw that there were anti-national elements which came in and tried to gain the favors, or tried to gain the favors for their anti-Indian narratives or demands. And at the same time, we also saw political parties to come and take that particular stage of anti-paper leak protests to uh, gain some future votes for themselves. But people this time, who were the genuine protesters who wanted a particular kind of uh, solution for the problem, the genuine problem, they very well knew that which elements are anti-national and which are the political elements who are there to hijack their protests. So even despite several faces which we saw during the protests, which were not very genuine, we knew that these are the people who must be uh, not taken seriously, and the genuine people who are watching the protests on TV and the genuine people involved in the protests both knew that we have to support the genuine cause of preventing paper leaks, and we at the same time also have to not focus or give any importance to anti-national elements. And the last one, which I saw after the protests, was the idea of forgiveness. And I believe this is something which is very well taken and very important in a democracy. Democracy doesn't mean that you can let the anti social elements go away with, but at the same time, you will have to forgive people uh, and give them the chance to reform themselves, or give them the chance to start an innings again. So, for example, even people were protesting against the paper leaks, against the education minister, or even, let's say, the BJP government. But even in those people, there were people who really, really admired the leadership of Narendra Modi, the Narendra Modi as a leader. And once the Dharmendra Pradhan resigned and Narendra Modi came on Instagram connecting with the Gen Zs, uh, people really went crazy. People really admired him, and people were like, how can someone not love this man? So this is something, once this is something which I believe is, once the government is ready to accept the mistakes and reform and make the reforms, people will forgive the government. And at the same time, we see that there were many teenagers or young kids who were actually abusing the leaders. Uh, so you can criticize, but even you can abuse, but that abuse is something which is not, which is personal attack on someone, and that is not going to gain you something of value. So despite doing all those what you call, the abuses, the personal attacks on the leaders were kind enough to forgive the young generation of the country. So this is something which I really appreciate, that forgiveness coming from both the sides towards each other. That is something which makes a very healthy democracy, which I believe. That's it for now. We will see you in the next video of left, right, and center. Till then, take care of yourself. Bye.